Benjamin, you've dropped. Dr. Machinda, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, good evening, Dara, and thank you very much yourself and Hopewell for having this. I think we're learning a lot of things as Zimbabweans, and I think the Zambian situation has brought to fore. I don't think it's necessarily new things that we're learning, but things that we might just take as those by the way things. So I've seen a lot of interesting things coming out of Zambia. So I was listening to the latest announcements of results, and what was striking was that, for example, in the areas that HH is very strong, the voter turnout in those areas was huge. So going all the way to what 88% compared to traditional Lungu areas where the voter turnout was only 66%. So what can we do as Zimbabweans to make sure we take advantage of that, and knowing where obviously there's inherent strength in us as the opposition. Secondly, if you look at the Zambian situation and the youth and how they have tried to take this into their own hands. I think in Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF has been on a drive to disenfranchise the youth and make them kind of see elections as a secondary thing, as not important, and that's gotten entrenched, and also on a drive to make the youth perpetually drunk, perpetually on drugs, because that disenfranchisement enables ZANU-PF to go forth and win elections. So what can we do as Zimbabweans to make sure that our youth understand and take this upon themselves to really make it personal for them? I think if you listened to the Zambian youth that Hopewell has been talking to in the past few days, you will see that they've taken this as a personal mandate. And one of them mentioned that one of the biggest things that they have in this is the understanding that we go into this with no need for personal gain, but understanding that this is for all of us. We're creating a system and an enabling environment where we are all going to gain. The patronage system is what ZANU-PF depends on. So they will go for the drama queens. They will go for those prophets because they're banking on the patronage system. So we need to find a way of empowering the youth to understand that this is not about patronage. This is about them understanding that they have the capability to create a conducive environment to do well. I think the third thing also for the opposition is just understanding of the importance of protecting the vote. You would hear from the UPND, they haven't won yet, but I think they're right in good shape right now. You'd hear how they started training and recruiting polling agents in time to make sure that they protect those votes. I know we fear the military, we fear the violence, but I think the military are part of our society, and the angle they is facing the same struggles that we're facing, and if we are all sort of working together, we have resolved to change the situation. I'm very sure that they will be on the people's side. So we really need to strengthen that, and fundamentally, again, I think most speakers have said this. I think one of the huge factors is funding, and I think that's fundamental for you to have the polling agents, for you to be able to go out there and utilize those. You need funding. You definitely need funding, and so we need to find ways of funding the cause. It's not a personal gain. We have people on social media. I mean, social media is social media. You can use it for the positive, or you can use it for the negative. And there will be people that are raising all sorts of issues. Our biggest chance and our biggest opportunity as a people is really to come together and change the way we're thinking. And in the Zambian situation, everyone is fighting against the PF. It's really that it's the PF versus the people, and we can really turn the tables and say this in Zimbabwe is ZANU PF versus the people. Like all of us, we all have challenges, we all have weaknesses, we all have all those things that we need to improve on. But I think if we really see that for us, we cannot continue to be running away from our own country. We cannot continue to be going to other people's countries and feeling good because I'm fine with my family, and whilst the rest of the country is suffering. We really need to come together and fight the system. And thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much, Doc, for that comprehensive contribution. I'll go to free political prisoners. If you can unmute yourself, and then we'll go to Tadi, and then we'll try and bring onto the platform more speakers. Thank you. So free Glowell, please go ahead.
Okay. Thanks a lot to Mkoma Jewa, Mkoma Hopewell, and everyone here. Right, I've got some few things to bring onto the table here. First thing, I heard everyone is talking about collective ownership, which is the very first thing if we want change that we have to work on, collective ownership. And that's exactly what is happening, or what has been happening in Zambia. That the youth, or everyone who wants change, they are all up running, fighting for that change which they really want. So I think we as Zimbabweans, we can use that, or we can work that same way. But then comes back to our opposition is talking of the MDC alliance. I think say that before that there are some like double candidates when it comes to constituents, and when you check again into that into the leadership of the opposition, you'll find out that for example there are some people which are affiliated or which are part of ZANU-PF, and they've been working within the opposition. And when that comes to the people, when that comes out to the majority, then when people have to find that, okay, this guy has been working with the ruling part all along, and that on its own disappoints people, it brings that hope from the people, the hope, it goes down, and that's when you find out that most of the youth, they'll find to go and vote when they find out that, okay, there are some within the part which they believe, which they do have the hope within that, okay, within this part, I think we can have a change. But at the end of the day, they'll find that there are some people who are working against the movement, who are working against the will of the people. So that can drop down the hope within the people. So checking on the opposition and leadership, I think they have to work or to find a way of bring that confidence up to the people and make people understand what exactly or how do we choose their leaders, and who is part of the movement, who wants the change within the leadership. Because that on its own, obviously, it brings people down. That okay, why the use of voting today? But I mean, after 2 or 3 months, then you find people moving out of the party and joining the ZANU-PF, if I can say ZANU-PF, or then you can find the people like Monzoras coming out or breaking within the party. That, as I said, that it brings down the hope within the youth in the country. So that's all I can say for now.
Many thanks, Tadi. Please go ahead. Thank you so much.
All right. I just wanted to point out, I think maybe something that I think we might be, it's good to overemphasize it, but I think we're overly depending on it as the ultimate solution and not understanding that it goes beyond that. And this one thing is the issue of voting in large numbers. You know, you think we all are talking of voting in large numbers as an ultimate proof to vote rigging or to vote stealing. which is not the case. It's not only a numbers game. If we go back to 2018, people voted in their numbers. Like it's one of the highest participation of youth, if I'm not mistaken, and someone can take me up on it. But I believe, if I'm still remembering correctly, 2018 was one of our highest youth participation, and yet still the vote did not sway to or it didn't go in favor of the people, in favor of opposition, because it's not about the numbers only. If you look at that in 2018, there were other strategies that were put in place in order to counter the issue of the high registration. Things such as there was a lot of voter frustration in the urban areas where the opposition was expected to have higher numbers. How were the voters frustrated? The number of polling stations were limited. The efficiency at the polling stations were limited to the point that people had to stand in very long queues, and at some point people had to actually be turned out. The same frustration was put out even in the registration process. So I think if we just look at things and say going in numbers only is going to be a proof that we won't be cheated, we might be mistaken. We might be mistaken, because if someone can cheat, if someone can cheat when you have 50 people, they can still cheat when you have 5,000. Because it's not as difficult to just change a number, whether you're changing 5 to 55 or you're changing 5,000 to 555,000. Right. So yes, we should go and vote in our large numbers, but it should go beyond that. We should be able to see the countermeasures that have been put in place. If we see that the number of polling stations are limited, then the opposition should step up. The people should step up to ensure that they have the right number of polling stations, they have the right efficiency, they have the right resources, and we should also communicate a strategy. Like I hear people saying that the youth should own this, like what the Zambian youth did. They did not just simultaneously in their individual homes come up with the idea to say that we're going to do this. They were communicated to. I hope that there's a Zambian who can take me up on this. They were communicated to. It's not like they're bees who have a hive mind and just can have a simultaneous thought and all walk out of their homes at the same time and just behave in the same way. No. Someone rallied them to that idea. Someone asked them to behave in that way, or someone called them, or someone united them to the point that they realized that, yes, we might have the same consensus, and so let's all behave in the same way. And that is where the leadership should step in. The leadership should step in to say, okay, youth, we understand that we all have these we all have these problems with the government. Now, this is how we can all move and behave. Let's sleep at the stations. Let's refuse the few gifts that they give away. Let's reject all that. Then my last point is, I hear people talking about the youth owning this on their own again. There's the issue to say that it is not true to think that every young person is MDC or opposition. It is not. It is also not true to think that every Zimbabwean, whatever age they are, is opposition, right? People have to campaign. They really have to put a lot into campaigning. They can't just leave it to the fact that when they're at their home, they're angry about ZANU-PF, so they think everyone else is angry about ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF, as we speak, is campaigning for that youth voice that you're talking about. It has aligned itself to personalities that have influence over the youth, such personalities that include Madam Boss, personalities that include people such as Passion Java. They have aligned themselves even to controversial personalities just in order for them to grab those youth. That is participation. They have aligned themselves in music to grab the same youth vote that you're thinking is automatically opposition vote. It is not. You have to work for it. And we need to see that happen in the space of opposition. Again, I'm trying to speak to the idea where people are saying that it's a done deal. Youth should just come up and behave in a way. No, they will behave in the way that they've been called to. And right now, the person who is calling loudly is ZANU-PF. The person who is really calling and putting it out there in a means that some might say is controversial, but it seems to be working. Because you see that the youth are clamoring around those personalities. So they definitely have to come up with the counter. I'll tell you for a fact that I've spoken to a lot of young men my age who are capable mentally and even financially, and they will tell you that they are now aligning with ZANU-PF for the following reasons. I'm aligning with ZANU-PF because, look, man, it's working. These guys have provided these opportunities, and then they're going to open those lines. So it is no longer as obvious as we thought. Then the point that I really want to take home is it's not only about the numbers. It's not about the numbers. It goes beyond that. It steps beyond the numbers. You can come in 3 million and people will still cheat. And we did have numbers. Let's not undermine the effort of 2018. It was one of our largest voter youth registration and participation. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the Dark Force girl. Please go ahead, and then I will go to Ezekiel after. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dewa. I always enjoy spaces with Tabini because he always brings a lot of things that a lot of people don't consider. I think the first thing I would just want to say is when it comes to being outspoken about the things that we should do, I find that a lot of people have a lot of things to say without saying it to the right people. So that's the first thing, that everyone who's here and everyone who wishes to express themselves, they should know that they just express without necessarily putting a channel to it. So here's the thing. You can come here and anyone can say MDC needs to do A, B, C, D, E. But you're telling me, you're telling Dewa, you're telling Doctor, you're telling Comrade Treasure, but those are not the people that implement those things you want to be implemented. So why don't we start by saying we know where to channel all these great ideas that we have, and then we also try to action them. So, like for instance, yesterday Tim Pachedu put out something. I actually noticed that I said something that a lot of people then went to comment and say, I'm interested, I'm interested. If we say we have, for instance, 15,000 polling stations, why don't we start on a voluntary, let's just say people volunteer to be polling agents, right? This is a great idea, and this is on a timeline. Why don't we say we get volunteers to be at the polling stations? I'm CCC, Nelson Chamisa Chet. And if I am concerned that in 2018 we did not have enough polling agents at all the polling stations, I should not come on my timeline and start commenting without necessarily either saying to the person that will change the stuff or necessarily implementing the change myself. So what then happened is I then reached out to the people that would know how many polling stations we have, and then from there we can start to say, how do we go around saying to people you can volunteer? Is it something that someone in IT can do to make like sort of like an ignite or domain or whatever people that are in IT would know? Do we have people that can go on the MDC website? You click let me volunteer, you add your information, you wait for the verification process, which should not take at least more than 7 days. We ask the people in your constituents or in your cell or whatever your district if they know you, and then you pass. And then if we can get at least 30 or 40,000 polling agents, if one person dies, if I die today, there should still be other people who are like 4 or 5 that registered under the same place that at least we have registered under. So the only problem that I have with so many people is that they have these great, massive ideas, but they don't know where to take them. And if they don't know where to take them, with ZANU-PF, it does not need us to take anything. They use state resources. They seemingly make it like they have everything or they offer us anything. I would so be glad to know what those people are telling you, Tadini, because for me, the primary stuff that we should be looking at when we're talking about opportunities, I'm not suffering, that's for sure. But I know that there are 5,000 children in Epworth who are child-headed families, a 9-year-old taking care of 5 years and 4-year-old brother and sister. So just because I'm okay and just because I can get an opportunity with ZANU PF does not necessarily account for the things that matter. So I don't care the kind of job that I can get in this country or in any country for that matter. As long as we have 700 companies that closed in 2016, there is absolutely no opportunity that ZANU PF is giving anyone. Lastly, the point I want to just drive is so many people have no reason as to why they say, oh, I'm going to vote for Nelson Chamisa because of this. And most get very emotional. I'm CCC. If you ask me why I vote Nelson Chamisa, it's not because Nelson Chamisa is going to come and say, oh, now we have all the irrigation systems. Can you line up people that need irrigation systems and then we're all going to raise our hands? No, I'm coming from a finance point of view where I'm working in an industry of investment banking. So I know that when Boris Johnson or when Biden or when Cyril Ramaphosa takes a vaccine shot, right, the markets respond and they respond positively, right? So my basis for Nelson Chamisa is got nothing to do with him bringing education, free education or anything. I know that when he gets in power, the one thing that will happen is even foreign direct investments, even all these people, private equity funds will start to form in Zimbabwe because that's how markets respond. So they respond to the trust. And now people get so emotional. Oh, why'd you vote for Nelson? But they don't know. But then what you don't know is that he is going to bring a, a very massive change in terms of people trusting. And when someone is trusted by the people, even you will take your money to the bank because you trust the process, right? Now you're putting your money under the pillow because I don't trust Mtuli Ncube. Once he says it's $10, tomorrow he'll wake up and say it's $1. But if we have policies that actually talk about a limitation to the governor or to whoever not being able to do that, it means we can have a positive direction. So we should be able to channel things to where they're supposed to go. We should be able to action. And I'm one person who's going to action about the polling agents, definitely. And we should be able to know why we are supporting the people we support. I don't support ZANU PF because of a lot of reasons. They do more for the dead than for the living. They have not built any state-funded orphanage. They leave children to die unattended. They have poor infrastructure. There are more than 2,000 companies that have closed to date. There is poor economic activity. There is not even a treasury bill that is, one of the basic things that any country can have is a treasury bill, which is either on a discount or on a premium. The most basic corporate bonds, municipality bonds, you don't have them. You don't know them in Zimbabwe because the government is absolutely rubbish. So let's know why we are voting for a person. Let's know who to tell and let's action. That's my contribution.
Many thanks, Jack Foster. Thank you so much. Let's go to the village head and then to Solomon. Thank you. Village head, if you can hear me. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for granting me this opportunity to speak on this very powerful platform where I can see big names on it. Firstly, I don't have much, but a little contribution that I need to make. I guess some of my contributions were already mentioned probably before I give my contributions on the what are your views on Zambia? As it was a number of direct environment for our political maneuvering, right? So to start with, I've got a few points that I have on polling agents. I had Tadini.
Hello, Village Head. You're breaking up. Can you, if you can hear us, please proceed. Make sure you're. Hello. I think we have lost Village Head. Any responses from the speakers on stage? Ella, Tadi, free political prisoners. Any responses? Ella, if you can hear me, please go ahead if you have a response, or Tadi, as we try and bring more people to the stage.
I'm sorry, I don't think I quite caught what he.
Okay, that's fine. Tadi, please go ahead.
Was he asking a question?
He broke off, so I think it was midway through his comments. But maybe if you have additional comments yourself, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think there is a guy maybe you're not seeing on the screen. I think it's Furaha. He's been raising his hand quite a lot. So I think I'll let him speak.
Sure. I cannot see on the screen, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, Furaha.
Please go ahead. No, it seems there is no one there. Lighthouse News Zimbabwe, please go ahead. Lighthouse News Zimbabwe, please go ahead. Or can do, please go ahead. Nina, please go ahead. I don't know what's happening. Can you hear me, guys? It seems the speakers are not.
Hello?
Yes.
We can hear
go
you.
ahead.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll go after
please go ahead. Then we go to Nina.
Hello, good afternoon, guys.
Thank you. Good evening. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I really like what the previous speaker has contributed. I think it was the Dark Girl Force or whatever, something like that. But yes, that's the thing, the channeling of our concerns. You know what I mean? Sometimes we talk about the opposition and we always want to say Nelson Chamisa is not doing something. Nelson Chamisa doesn't have a plan. Nelson Chamisa doesn't have to do that. So we want to try to move away from that thinking, whereby we try to subcontract all our efforts on one person. We want to have this thing as a collective thing. And my point as well was on diversity and the marginalization. We want to look at this thing, take this thing of encouraging people outside Harare or Bulawayo. We want to go to the other places. Like myself, I'm from Mutare, Manicaland. We want to try to promote people from the rural areas or from the places like that. We want to try to invite people from towns or cities or provinces which are not always participating in this space. I think, Mr. Hopewell, you're doing very well, but I think you need to be inclusive by inviting people from different parts of the town, parts of the country, so that people can say out what exactly is based on their province or based on their town, something like that. Because at the moment we are concentrating too much in Harare, and most of the speakers are only talking things which are based in Harare. You know what I mean? We need to try to diverse, to go deep on them. On the other aspect, I participated well, I think last time when Nelson Chamisa came to the UK, I hosted him in my branch, in Bedford branch, as the chairperson of that branch. And I participated well with him and tried to help him to reach out to the community, especially in the UK. It's some of those things which some of us, we keep our names down and we don't want to make ourselves available to people or keep our names away from people. But the diaspora is very, very important, especially on reaching out to between the branches we've got with the constituencies back home. I think Jason said that earlier, but some of the things that the diaspora helps reaching out to constituencies which are outside Harare or outside the other areas. People may not know that, or people may think that the opposition or Nelson Chamisa doesn't have a plan or is not doing anything, but people are actually interlinking with the constituencies. We are talking with the constituencies as we speak. That's partly what I can say at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that input, Can Do.